Hello you, settle in, this one's going to be a big one. Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. I'm Jonty Sparrow, and this is the Lumineers. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single bit of information for Lorcana, the new trading card game from Disney coming out later this year. The hype train seems to be ramping up as we get closer to the spring rules release, and today we had a new article from Games Radar that showed off a new card and, maybe more importantly, pricing information for the first set. So let's get the fun stuff out of the way first of all and have a look at the new card. Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician is a 2-costed 2/4 in steel. She has the keywords Dreamborn, Ally and Fairy, and she has the ability Battle Plans. You can exert her to draw a card and then discard a card. Often known in trading card games as looting, this is a really strong effect. Anything that lets you see more of your deck than your opponent is really quite powerful, and sticking that ability on what seems like a good low-end body suggests that this could actually be quite a strong card. Again, without the full rule set, we really don't know, but anything with card advantage is usually a win. Grace Tran joins our roster of artists with the new art, which is frankly incredible. Genuinely could be one of my favourites. I think I'd probably say that every single time, but this one really is great. It shows Tinkerbell there, ready to do battle, just like you imagine a steel card would, and she's got her little kiss there to protect her head. One thing I really love about this art is so far we've seen a lot of the art sort of take the colour of the ink that is their card and really use it in the artwork, which I think is fine. It's going to make a table very readable, but unfortunately it does mean that the steel cards could maybe be a little bit drab. Gantu, for instance, as awesome as the art is on Gantu, he's meant to be in Hawaii there, right? This should be a big bright place. Somebody pointed that out in my last video, and I think it's a very fair point. Luckily, this one doesn't seem to be quite that drab, and we can see this beautiful spotlight on her showing off her green dress. But with the armor and the shield, she still looks like she's got a real good steel feel to her. Finally, she's card 194 out of 204, and she looks like she's a low rarity card. We don't really 100% know what those symbols are, but we're assuming that the one shown here is either common or uncommon. And finally, she has 1 lore pip. I think we're going to see cards have at least 1 lore. If the win condition is having as many lore as you can have on the table, then I can't imagine really wanting to play cards that don't have any at all, at least to begin with, so I think even lower powered cards will always have 1 lore. Anyway, Tinkerbell looks great, and we can't wait to see more cards. Okay, next up we have some pricing. Now, I just want to point out that this might not technically be MSRP, but it's an article that has been retweeted and shared by Lorcana themselves, and normally they're really tight on correcting any misinformation out there, so I'm pretty sure we can take these as MSRP or at least very close to MSRP. First thing I'm going to look at is the booster packs. Now, this is just a single booster pack and is really the foundation for a game like this. It's a sealed pack containing 12 cards of various rarities that are going to be open blind. You won't know what's inside of them, and pretty much every other product has got some sort of amount of these in some sort of capacity. These really are the sort of the base building blocks for this kind of game. We've been given the prices for the US, Canada and the UK. In the US, these packs are going to be $5.99. In Canada, they're going to be $7.99, and in the UK, they're going to be £4.99. So before we go into the other products, let's talk about that as a price point first of all. Is it good? It's not great. Is it bad? It's not terrible. I think honestly, if they could have come down like 50 cents on this, we wouldn't really be having any sort of conversation about it. But as it stands, I think they are on the higher end of a cost of a pack for a playing card game at the moment. The contents of them being 12 cards, 2 of those slots being a guaranteed rare, and then a full one being a foil card of any rarity, puts it in line with a set booster pack from Magic the Gathering. And considering those, pricing is actually about right, but I don't really think Magic is where we want to be putting our base level right now. Magic as a product has been creeping up in cost for a couple of years now, and in those few years has removed their MSRP, so it's very difficult to really judge what a Magic pack is worth. I think it's more comparable to look at Lorcana versus something like Pokemon, and doing that it actually seems quite expensive, a Pokemon pack being around $4.50 US, or at least this next set I think is going to be $4.50 US. You have to take into account that there's going to be a big Disney tax here, in that Ravensburger are going to be paying a license fee to Disney for using it, and also Pokemon Pokemon has been around for a long time and probably hasn't increased its prices as much as it maybe should have over the last sort of 5 or 10 years. And a new card game coming into the market should probably be pricing itself around $5 a pack. All that said, this isn't me shilling for Ravensburger. I'm not necessarily saying that this is a good price point. I'm just trying to explain why I think the price point is what it is. The other thing I think is important to mention is this is an MSRP. This is a manufacturer's suggested retail price. The key word there being suggested. I think you'll probably find for the most part that if you're buying this from a game store, you're going to be taking it off the shelf for less than these numbers. Unfortunately, I have been seeing on the Discord that some places, their game stores actually have to charge more than MSRP, but that seems to be for relatively rural places. If you're anywhere near a decent sized city, you're most likely going to be paying less than the MSRP for this product. Although I will say, looking at some figures that I've been receiving today from distributors, as I do manage a game store here in Ontario, the markup isn't as great as you'd really like it to be. So there's less wiggle room for game stores to really bring down that price and stay competitive. So what I'm saying is, if you do see your local game stores charging around the MSRP or maybe just a little bit under, they're not really the bad guys, they're just trying to keep the lights on. One thing I will say is you should never, ever be paying more than MSRP for product. With all that said, let's take a look at the other products that have been announced having price points today. The first chapter gift set, that's the one featuring Hades and Mulan, is going to be going for $29.99 US, $39.99 Canadian, and $27.99 UK. So one thing you'll notice here is that the prices aren't necessarily comparable, which is why I always do warn when some pricing from Europe maybe is released. You shouldn't necessarily just use the conversion rate to see what the US price is. It very often doesn't work like that, especially with the US being such a big buyer's market. You'll often find that they are able to come in a little bit cheaper. But basically with the gift set there, you're paying the price of the 4 packs that come with it, and then you're also getting the oversized Hades, the oversized Mulan, and the guaranteed foils of each of those, as well as a handful of tokens for a couple of bucks. The story is pretty similar with the Illumineers Trove. For those ones, you're going to be looking at $49.99 US, $64.99 Canadian, and $49.99 UK. Again, those prices are very similar to a fat pack, or now called a bundle in Magic, or an ETB for Pokemon. You're basically, again, paying for the 8 packs that you get in there, and then the handful of other things cost you a couple of dollars, basically. So the Trove itself being a box that you can use as store cards in, it comes with a couple of deck boxes that, let's be honest, most likely are probably just going to be cardboard boxes. And then a handful of tokens, a little booklet that tells you more about the game. And all that's going to cost you a few more bucks than just those number of packs would. And then finally, the starter decks. This is really where you're getting bang for your buck as far as just cost per card goes. For the starter decks, you're looking at $16.99 US, $21.99 Canadian, and $17.99 UK. These are really great value. They come with a booster pack, so taking away the price of the booster pack, you're looking at about $10 US for a full deck. That's really quite strong. The deck itself probably isn't going to be very competitive, but a really great entry point for somebody to get started in the game. If it's anything like Bandai's recent releases, you'll be wanting to pick up 2 of the starter deck that you like the most likely giving you play sets of the stuff that you really want to be playing with. For instance, in the Steel deck, I wouldn't be surprised if it sees 2 copies of Tinkerbell and you can actually play with 4, so you'll buy 2 to get the 2 together. That's definitely Bandai's MO over the last little while. And the starter decks actually work out about 25 cents per card, as opposed to all the other products that sit somewhere around 50 cents per card. Again, these are MSRPs. You're most likely going to pay a little bit less if you go with a local game store. We're still waiting to see what allocation itself is going to look like, and unfortunately the rumor mill is suggesting that it's going to be a lot lower than we'd like. Again, that's not particularly surprising. The first runs of games are very often underprinted, unfortunately. But if you're picking up a box from a local game store in the US, I'd be looking at somewhere around $140 to $150. Canada, I'd be looking at about $165 to $170. If you can get them less than that, then great. If they're going to be much more than that, I'd maybe have a little look elsewhere. There were a few other little bits today. The date for set number 2 was confirmed as being December the 1st, with the local game store pre-release happening 2 weeks before that, which ties in with the information we got from that Dutch distributor a few weeks ago, but now it looks to be confirmed from a source that Lorcana are happy to agree with. Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor was confirmed as having a legendary rarity, and I think that was about it. If I've missed anything, sorry, I'll pop it into the next video. Remember, if you have enjoyed this this one, please give us a like. It really does help out. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more of these. If you're watching this at time of release, later today I'm going to be over on the Hobbies and Happiness channel with loads of other awesome content creators. Every sort of third or fourth Friday we do a big Lorcana creator roundtable on there where we go through all of the news over the last few weeks. And obviously this week we're going to have a lot to get our teeth into. I will pop a link in the description for that one. It'd be great to see you there in the chat. Until next time, thanks so much for watching and be good.